Hey, everybody, this is Barry Mankin here with the Holistic Home Health Podcast. We're here in Nashville, Tennessee, and we've got a testimonial today with a customer of ours, Will Dunn. We've been with him for, I guess, about a year or more, and I just want to welcome you and say thanks for being on the podcast today. We're going to have fun talking about our whole experience together.
Oh yeah, we are. We've had quite a bit of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, grateful to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you so much for being willing to tell everybody your story.
Yeah.
First off, we'll just talk about, which we've mentioned before, we've talked about a process, everybody. Sometimes this isn't just like a silver bullet deal. Like, this is a process. This is a balance between whatever the house has available from an exposure or contaminant standpoint, and then whatever the sensitivities of the client are and whatever their toxic load is. And we've talked about that from both ends. We have somebody that's gone through the mill with this, and we've seen a couple other testimonials here. But Will, why don't you share with us how what you were dealing with even before you got to the house?
Yeah.
And then how this started before you even called us.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, it starts around the summer of 2016. I was a sophomore, junior in college, and I just started to notice, I became aware that the way that I was feeling, which was severely fatigued, constantly, unalleviating, and brain fog at 21, I had started to think that it was a little normal, and then I realized it wasn't.
Right.
And so, that's kind of where I began. It was just first an awareness that, hey, I don't feel well, and I think this is not how normal people feel. I'm feeling bogged down, and I'm young, and so I go on a search really to investigate why am I here? Why do I feel this way? Went to doctors, blood panels, primary care. I looked great. I looked healthy. I was healthy.
You're athletic back then too,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Been playing sports my whole life.
Yeah.
Very active, energetic individual. And so, that phase made up a few years of just kind of mystery illness, and it kind of progressed, the fatigue, the brain fog. I had some insights, that I thought might be worthwhile. And so investigated some concussions, but it was a little bit fleeting. And so fast forward, and 5 years later, it is 2022. I get what I thought was the first ticket to clarity on my health, and that was a diagnosis of Lyme disease. Major issue. What I have come to learn is that very often Lyme and mold toxicity, Lyme infections, chronic infection of Lyme, and mold toxicity, mycotoxin, within the body, as well as metals and a few other things, but they all kind of frequently run together. I didn't learn that until about 9 to 10 months into trying to treat Lyme with no success. In fact, only a decline. Now, that was December 2022 when I got that diagnosis. And then we moved into our home. We bought a new home in May. It was our first home, first purchase. My wife was pregnant with
Exciting time, supposed to be.
Oh my gosh, first home.
Yeah.
First child on the way.
Yeah.
We're going on into fifth year of marriage. I mean, it's the moment we've been dreaming about in a lot of ways. And so major leap. We move in May. My daughter's born in August. Well, that whole span of time, I am on the decline. I was supposed to be on the incline. And so I end up learning a little bit just through, conversations and whatnot about mold. So I get tested for mycotoxins, and they're through the roof. And here
on your body,
a whole new journey in my body. Yes. Did a urine mycotoxin lab. It showed a lot. And so the question became, where is this coming from? And so I had some guidance at the time. I really started out just kind of really trying to educate myself in searching high and low. Did, an ERMI sample, but I ended up also finding visible mold growing on the wall, in a closet, crawl space, ended up finding in the HVAC just by my own eye and, determination to figure this out. Because here, by this point, I have a 3 to 4 month old infant. in a family that I'm responsible for
Right.
when I'm feeling terrible.
Yeah.
And so, a little bit later on, we ended up getting in contact with you, but not until after I had, hired someone else initially to
Yeah.
come and inspect, which itself took a long time. And I'm happy to speak to why that took a long time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
let's look at so just to back up a little bit, you had visible mold in several key locations. You didn't necessarily know what you were dealing with. You just
Right.
know that you saw what looked like mold.
Mm-hmm.
You had your own symptoms coming into the house, and now after you got into the house, you're getting more triggers. You're getting worse
Yes, getting worse.
as you're getting into your new home.
Right.
Other than the stress of getting a new place and having all the responsibilities, a new dad, and all those other things, you're feeling bad.
Yeah.
So I mean, by the time you see mold, you're dealing with colonies of
Right.
mold, right? So which most people don't know. Like there's a problem of some sort, whether that's big or small, but at least it's inherent. And then you talked about mycotoxins too, which most people, I mean, that's a really controversial subject. During the timeline that this has happened, this is interesting to me because you're in that I guess that era, if you will, as far as like that short time span.
Yeah.
Mycotoxins in my field really haven't been dealt with or even exposed very well for the past maybe 7 years, 8 years, or something like that. And we weren't even doing it except for the past 4 or 5, maybe tops.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And because it's a new thing for us, the medical industry was a few years ahead of the environmental industry.
Yeah.
As far as using that as part of their, or bringing that into their business model to help people,
Right.
because we didn't know what we knew it existed,
Sure.
but how to see it
Yeah.
and then what to do about it.
Right.
That's still a big controversy in my field,
Yeah.
and I got my opinions about it, which I've shared, but it's interesting that your timeline, we were coming out of that to kind of formulate our opinion. So you were sort of an experiment.
Amazing.
In a ways.
Yeah. Very interesting.
So tell us, you said you had some other people you started with that identified it. How did they identify it? What did they do?
Well, they helped out. They had a thermal camera. So
Okay.
I thought that was pretty sweet at the time, watching that thing. I know they used a thermal camera. I know he did some air samples, maybe some surface samples. So, and at this point, by the time I even brought them in, I had really, really scrubbed the internet to make sure I was only going to have to do this one time. That was like my goal,
Yeah.
time's of the essence. And so they came and was not a perfect inspection, was not the worst inspection based on other stories I've learned about. But another element was, the path for remediation, what was being recommended. And that's kind of where we got hesitant. And that's where I ended up reaching out to you.
Yeah. What was their? Were they suggesting that they do their own?
They were not. So they were, they were adhering to, they were great in terms of conflict of interest and making sure to use a remediation company. The kicker was, and this is, I'm sure, an even more unique case, but it's just where I was. It's what I came across, and I decided, we got to take some action. I brought in an inspector from a different state initially.
Ah, that's right. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And I only did that because of referral. My biggest concern was I need to have someone I feel that I can trust.
Yeah.
Trust was the biggest thing. So I got someone I trusted, recommended them.
Sure.
I said, you know what? We got to get this underway. And so we had moved out of our house. We were living kind of like nomads. We were gone for about 6 months. So we bought it in May. We left in February, which was a wild night, the night that happened. But we needed to get back in, and he was from a different state and
A different climate.
different
too.
soil, different climate, completely different.
Yeah.
He was from California,
Yeah.
which is not the same as Tennessee. Not the same. A lot of moisture out here.
Yep. That's a
Lot of
completely
rain.
different area. So like, God bless the Californians, but like,
Absolutely.
just saying.
It's a little different.
All right.
A lot of moisture out here.
So you, so what happened at the end of their process? What were they suggesting that made you say, "Hey, we need to reassess who we're going for"?
Yeah.
Because that's big money.
The first thing, and I'm not saying that this does not work in other states, but the first thing that was abnormal was not encapsulating the crawl space whatsoever. And so, because the soil needed to quote unquote breathe, and that to me immediately was just a little bit, I need to be sure about this. You know, it was a big investment. So that was really the first point that I started asking some questions.
Okay. All right. It's pretty expensive to get to come from California, I'm sure.
It is.
Yeah.
Paid for airfare and all.
Yeah. You had some conceptions there that were like, okay, I'm not sure if I trust this whole process that they're giving us.
Right.
And then you found us how?
I found you through a resource of a realtor, Tennessee realtor, who had kind of compiled an index of resources. So at this point, I'm thinking I need to find an IEP in Tennessee.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And then when we met, we talked pretty extensively on the phone, I remember.
Yeah, we did.
Because our whole thing is trust, you know. So all I can say is, hey, I'm going to do my best for somebody.
Yep.
But you have to trust a process, basically. What gave you confidence in, I guess, whatever I said? Because I can't remember the conversation verbatim.
Yeah. It was most likely less about what you said and more about how long you spoke with me. You tarried with me as I hammered you with a million questions in one, probably asked the same one twice. You know, but I also could tell immediately that this was not a job for you. You were enthusiastic about this. You knew that this was a critical job that you have. And I'm here, I have a family at stake, and I made that clear to you, where we were coming from, what our process was, and that. So, you know, your ability to listen I could tell you were really listening to my questions, and you were trying to not only answer them with nuance, but inform me of nuance that I was missing. And so that was critical for me.
Oh, cool. Well, I appreciate that. Okay, so when we started, we always say, hey, we need to get a baseline.
Yeah.
Right? I don't necessarily want to be redundant if there's some value with what somebody has done in the past, but there was some level of work that had already been done there, because you were doing some remodeling and also found some mold that you were removing at that point, right, at that stage. So what stage was it at? If you could tell me, just kind of describe the house.
Yeah.
But older home.
When you came in?
Yeah.
Okay. Some of this begins with our first home inspection, because this is coming back to my memory. We were told in the inspection, you have no mold. And he was shocked. You know, our inspector was giving us surprise. And
did they do a test on the front end? Or
no.
just visual?
No. Visual, visual. Just visual, but it was very confident, authoritative, and we were like, we picked the right place. You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, by the time you came in, I believe I had spoken with you, taken your pointers, modified my California IEP's protocol for remediation, delivered it to Mickey Schrader, who had come in and, had done an incredible job. Also vouched for you. Yeah. And
EPS.
So EPS.
Shout out to EPS.
My goodness. Thank you, Mickey Schrader. We love Mickey.
We love Mickey.
We love
He's
Mickey. Good. And so you kind of came in there to do the post-remediation verification, even though you hadn't done the initial inspection.
Okay. So we did, I don't even think we did like a whole inspection on the house at that point.
Nope.
We just tried to supplement the sampling that you had.
Yeah.
Found some things on the sampling because we wanted to keep it simple. I think you were trying to feel me out
it's
too.
It's coming back to me now too.
Yeah.
Yep. I gave you my inspection report.
Okay.
I said, here's what he had done. I had already gone forward with Mickey.
Yeah.
And so I had you come over in the back end. Can you redo all these tests? But
that's
also,
right. Yeah.
you know, tell me what we're missing here too.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit reverse.
It was a little bit like a consultation where I was like, hey, can you tell me what this guy did is legit or not?
Yeah.
And then look,
that's
look
right.
at a few things. Okay, I remember that. Yeah.
It's coming back to me too.
Yeah.
Yep. It was both of those at the same time.
But we did like a limited thing. We just kind of looked at a few areas of concern that you kind of had already identified.
Right. Yeah.
And we kept it simple. And again, I think you're already in a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
With this guy. And I think part of that too is like, hey, just financially, does it make sense to redo all this again? Yeah. So our approach is always just like, let's just help.
Yeah.
In fact, that's kind of one of our catchphrases. Whenever the ladies answer the phone, it's like, how can we help? So my goal is to make the house healthy.
Yeah.
And if you already have a vested interest in something, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to, I just want to say, okay, can I add value to this to get you to where you need to be?
Right.
And that was our approach at the time. And then, even though I think we had a PRV and we passed those areas, you were still experiencing some symptoms in the house. Yeah. So you weren't feeling better.
Not at that point. It really took some time to feel things kind of cool down.
Well, and there were
regard.
seasonal changes too that
Yeah.
were going on. So this was like, I'm going to refer to my phone here just to look and see what our timeline was.
Yeah.
But like, that was,
You came over first week of August because we moved in the night before my daughter's 1-year birthday, and we
Yes.
finished remediation about 5 days before.
we had August 1st I've got here, and I
There
did
you go.
a lot of sampling
Yeah.
on the front end just to get the data. I remember we had some water damaged molds,
Yeah.
which, that's where we get into the mycotoxin category. Yeah, you're kind of all over the map, but at some elevated concentrations. Of course, Aspen, you had aspergillus going on. You had different areas of a lot of bacilliospores, but that's typical when the house was under construction. A lot of outside influence. Some cladosporium was a little elevated, which is, again, those are indicative to Tennessee. But I wanted to find, I thought we had some Stachybotrys in a few locations.
Some chitomium.
Was it? Yeah. There's one thing, a chitomium there at the closet. Yeah, so we were all over the map here on these numbers.
Yeah.
That got us our baseline,
Yeah.
what we call a baseline assessment. And it kind of helped shore up what they were trying to justify from a remediation standpoint. Then you still, you weren't feeling better. We started talking about some other things. So you called us back and said, hey, there's some other things going on. Did you find something at that point?
It was 2 items. We had some water started coming out of our kitchen
Okay.
ceiling, but
You had a bathroom upstairs. There was a bedroom in the back, too.
yes,
That had a hole in the ceiling,
yes,
too. Yes.
it did. Yeah, there was a
So
leak.
you had a couple of leaks.
A
Yeah.
couple leaks, a
Yeah.
couple of leaks that were left over, and so we had you come back out to check on those. And but we ended up, you and I were both learners, and I ended up asking you more questions. You ended up teaching me more things, and so we talked about things like, the flow of water around the house. Really how to make sure this thing is not just fixed but set up for success. So we discussed that a little bit as well.
Yeah, a lot of preventative stuff.
Yeah,
We got
talked
into a
about
lot of that.
We did. Got into the weeds.
I think we've been there. And of course, even recently we had a small leak that we have to address. But older house, right? A lot of hands in the cookie jar when you're
Yes.
doing remodeling, if you will. But Mickey was passing the PRVs, the post-remediation verification, where we go, and if it's dirty on the front end, we want to make sure it's clean on the back end. So I see numbers either with luminometer readings or sampling, and I don't want to see any of those items there. So specific molds, and then concentration levels as well, because as soon as we open the door, mold comes right back in.
Yeah.
Tell me about, you had some questions at the beginning too about like ERMI.
Yeah.
ERMI testing, and we kind of shot that down pretty quick.
Yeah. Wow.
Had to win you over with that one.
You did. Oh man. Yeah, we were using Hermes and just flying as we as we went. So what does an ERMI mean? That was a big point of confusion. So I can't quite remember what I asked you.
And it was like $300 a pop too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They were quite expensive.
From my standpoint, I hear the same things
Yeah.
from people that are suffering in the same ways, which is why we're doing this. Honestly, I mean, your experience is not unique in the sense of when you have an industry that is not regulated in a state and a standard of practice is not normal. A lot of times, people don't even get to somebody that's reliable.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people say, "Oh, it passed an ERMI," or it, We did 3 samples in the house. There's no mold here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see that all the time.
Yeah, and that's that point right there that you're making. To me, in my experience of having to go through it, but also in my experience of talking with people I know, friends, I've kind of, in some ways, I'm like, among some friends, I'm like the mold guy, so
Yeah.
and we're in Tennessee, and there's always that phrase, oh, everyone has mold. And it's like, sure, but it's a little more than that. But I get asked a lot of questions now, and I'm also very passionate about helping people with this just because we suffered from it and
Yeah.
found relief. And but the matter you're speaking about, is accuracy.
Yeah.
And ultimately there are complications within the process at large, and the options that are available from people with titles who are, seen as authoritative by laymen, just by men and women who own homes and aren't feeling well. Trust, right? And so now what a lot of us don't like to hear as well is that it's more complicated, or that might not be the right phrasing, but that you can get testing that is not really showing what's all that's there.
Mm-hmm.
To put it another way, my biggest fear really going through this was to be told that we were all good, that we had no mold, and we did. That was what I wanted to avoid more than anything. And so the ERMI matter, all of these different means of finding out whether or not you have mold or toxic mold. And I think it's so important to know that, you're getting an accurate result or a holistic result.
Right.
That you can face the answer of no matter what it is. The truth is all that matters, not to be told that you have good news, you have no mold, but now I'm still sick and looking elsewhere.
Right. And it's setting those expectations on the front end with whether that's a somebody that's doing a diagnostic or somebody that's actually implementing like a prescription or solutions.
Yeah.
Like Mickey, that again, they set that expectation to say, hey, here's what we're doing, here's what we're not doing, here's what this means. And setting that expectation, people understand that it's more of a process than it is a silver bullet.
Yeah.
And it's not whether you have mold or you don't. Everybody's got mold, right?
Right.
It's do I need to do anything, and what do I need to do, and at what level, and when do I need to reassess? And it's the awareness is huge. Whenever there's pain points and people are suffering from a health standpoint, that unfortunately, it's kind of like the canary in the coal mine. Like you're the barometer of, hey, is my body detoxing now or not? And am I being triggered by a room? All those kinds of things we had experienced. And there were certain diagnostic processes that I didn't even have available until later. Yeah. Because we invested in the Instascope this past year, which is really fun. Yeah. And I can see things that I didn't see before. Great tool, but also very pricey. I think we got things to a point, but the house kept coming back to you. The house kept rearing its head to say, hey, you got all this, but guess what? Here's another spot, or here's an improvement we have to make. And again, we had to kind of experiment to see how far we really needed to go, but I think you were learning how far you needed to go because of your pain points. Right. You had different moments or different days that you didn't feel well. Tell me about that.
Oh, it was very difficult. I think there's a proverb that says hope deferred makes the heart sick. And so there's an element, of hope being given away, we're made for hope, and you want to hope in situations that are difficult, and there's always hope. But when you put your hope in something real specific and then it doesn't necessarily go that way within a certain amount of time that you expected it to, it can be a little bit defeating. And so, there's a fatigue that starts to build beyond the physical fatigue. And so we reached that place a few times. I think we are stronger at the end of it, in a much better position, and it's part of our story and our life now. But it wasn't easy.
Let's see about the reassessment process. We went in, we actually did some testing on clothing because of your sensitivities. You still weren't 100%.
Yep.
Did you go back to the doc at different points and they'd still find things?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I actually ended up having some comorbidities, right? And so my attention was spread to, coexisting conditions that were being revealed at the same time. But all the while, I'm really wondering, do we get all this done? So yeah, I had you back over for items, just because that is arguably, I mean, assuming you're doing everything quote unquote right and holistically, the items get real difficult and real touchy.
Because you're putting it on yourself.
Yeah,
I
you're
mean,
wearing
you have
it,
direct
breathing
exposure.
it.
Yeah.
You're bathing in it, so but it's hard to throw away things that you love or things that matter or things that are nice or not cheap.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting rid of at least 50%. And
Wow.
it felt kind of good in some ways, honestly. I have a little reset, but yeah, it kind of kept rearing its head. And so we had you back out, check on some clothes. That's right. You came back over when we had to throw away some chairs that we loved. We kept. And so, we got rid of those and aren't sitting on that every day now.
The biological load that's left over,
Yeah.
whether that's from history from owning it in different locations or when it's been introduced to a contaminated environment that maybe was or was not remediated appropriately, you can still have residual
Right.
in those items, clothing, etc. Now with the Instascope, we were able to actually look at that biological load in something live,
Which is incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And we did some experiments. I think I told you about where we had another testimonial where there was a client that we actually did an experiment with laundry detergent to see what works better than others, which I'm not going to promote, but you need to look up the podcast if you want to find out what that is. So, but we went over that.
Yeah.
She said what she used because I didn't, that's not what I do. I just let the numbers speak and say, okay, what's the load in this based off of this and a control that we had. It was awesome. That's about as nerdy as it gets.
That, we used a different method to clean some of our
Some
clothes
sampling.
that we kept.
Yeah,
We might still need to wash some clothes on our end, right? Just to make sure it's all out of the way.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. At least get the numbers down,
Yes.
right? So,
Yeah.
but that was interesting. We were we were looking for every little spot. Now, I think you replaced everything, right?
Replaced all the ducts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up and down, right?
Up and down.
Okay,
Yep.
so you just did full replacement.
We did. We had to.
And we also did some improvements because you were in a position to say, hey, like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, tell me what we got to do. And I'm like, well, how good do you want it?
Yeah.
And we got you in touch with Nathan Copeland with Copeland & Son.
Yep.
Shout out to Nathan.
Thank you, Nathan Copeland.
He's the man. And I think he set you up with whole house filtration.
Yep.
So from a particulate standpoint, you were rocking it.
Yeah.
Then we did, I think we did a fresh air makeup.
We did fresh air makeup. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And that fresh air makeup is coming in at certain intervals.
Yep.
Did we get into the positive pressure side of it yet or no?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
That's a little bit of a spin on it.
Yeah.
But I'm a fan of all that. Of course, you got an older house, so it's gonna go out. You might get to neutral.
Yeah.
Whether you can get to positive or not, if it's worth it, we'll see.
Yeah.
But man, that's huge to be able to have that dilution and to have that filtration.
Yeah.
That's big.
I mean, it is big. It's enormous, and not everybody can do what we did, and not everybody has to do what we did either. But it's case by case, family by family, and for us, we bought this home with a vision. We hoped to be here. We had built dreams, and Dad's been real sick, and so how do we create an environment that is sustainable and healthy and promotes growth and for our children? And it just happened that we had bought a home that we were told had no mold. Turned out it was pumping it. And so we had choices to make. We can invest in this place and right what's been wronged or what's been outdated, or we can get up and leave, or we can just kind of keep on in this place. And for us, that was not an option. It was hurting. It was hurting. It was hurting relationships. It was hurting, mornings that were supposed to be filled with joy, and they were filled with brain fog and fatigue. And low motivation, and all these things that, aren't what human life is about.
That's right.
So
Let's talk
worth
about
it.
that aspect. What's it all about?
Yeah,
From a
what's human-
dad's from a dad's
from
standpoint.
a dad's standpoint.
Being the new dad.
I'd love to speak to that. Yes. Yeah, new dad of 2 now, actually.
Yep,
My
yep,
son
yep.
was born 6 weeks ago.
Yep.
And
Congratulations.
so, thank you. So
Yeah.
we've got 2 kids, I guess 2 under 2. Our daughter just turned 2. So, yeah, I have wrestled with that deeply, and it was the critical point of our whole journey. I think dads need to be invested in the health of their home and take it seriously. I also think that men we struggle to see the unseen all the time, or to believe, what can't necessarily be. And sometimes you can see mold, but sometimes you can't, right? And so there's an immaterial element experientially that I think, at least I see quite often. And I have conversations, and maybe a wife is sick, or a child, and there's story after story. Husband's not really believing it, thinking it's an emotional response, or something made up, or you can't see it, so it's not that bad, or everyone has mold, right? And so I understand that, and that's part of what we are. We like tactile things. We like to work with our hands and create from that. But for fathers, for husbands, we have a responsibility, I believe, to get into the nitty gritty, even when it's uncomfortable. And so, for me, allowing myself to acknowledge that I don't feel well and that I need help. I need help. And, going into this unknown about mold, and that, is it possible that the air is making us sick?
Right.
Is a pretty, that was a pretty abstract thing for me at the time, but
It's very humbling, I'm
it
sure,
doesn't
too.
matter. Right. Yeah.
I mean, because again,
Very
like, you're a strong guy, like, you're healthy in the sense of, like, you're fit. I mean, you've been athletic your whole life.
Yeah.
And you get something that you can't see knocking you down. That
Yeah.
has to be like,
disorienting. It's
Yeah.
hard to believe, because, this is how I was feeling. It was not a representation of who I was. And, but here I was, and, filled with drive, filled with motivation, filled with still having all the vision, still having all the momentum of mid to late 20s and starting a family. And yet this kind of growing incapacity to target those things, to take care of my family well.
Yeah.
And so they needed me to
Yeah.
get into those weeds.
yeah. Good for you for doing that. I mean, because there's other than which, this is what I hear all the time. How much is that going to cost?
Yeah.
How much is this going to, again,
Oh yeah.
very good question. Like, we should ask those questions.
Yeah.
And the question is the value there? Is the process right? Are we going to get to a solution?
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, they don't know
Yeah.
what that looks like. And you had to very, very much go through that process and start trusting a process. And I applaud you for doing it, because, I mean, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling better. I'm not perfect. I've had to deal with a few other things, actually, just recently.
Yeah, you had a surgery.
I did. I
Yeah.
had surgery
Yeah.
about 10 weeks ago. So
Unrelated, but like
unrelated.
Yeah.
Still recovering from that. But, cost is relative, right? So, but it's relative to a variety of things. And I'd say there's different types of cost. And I just, you can only use the amount of money that you have. That's the bottom line. You can always make more. But money aside, nothing is more costly than your health in decline. And because the cost is not just more years with doctor's appointments and blood draws and insurance approving or often not approving, especially in this field.
Yep.
That's a high cost. Nothing is more costly, though, than your time and your vitality and your ability to be present and active and living in vibrant health with people you love.
Yeah.
When something's impacting that,
Quality
that
of
is
life.
the highest cost.
Yeah.
So it's worth the fight.
Yeah.
Figuring out a way, whatever that answer is,
Yeah.
for that family. You got to figure it out.
It's great
worth it.
wisdom that you gained with that.
worth
And for you to have that perspective to kind of go in with eyes wide open and say, I'm going to learn from this just as much as because you were a sponge.
Yeah.
Like you were asking questions more than like most of my clients. You know? And I say that as a compliment because most people don't want to, they just want it done so they can go back onto their, normal life, whatever that is anymore.
Yeah. Again, for me, what drove that in me, I mean, I love to learn. I'm just a natural investigator. I enjoy it. But it just, I just felt this responsibility that I had to bear this and to carry this for my family. And so it's worth it. It's worth asking questions, assuming you don't know all the answers, and that, make sure you ask away.
I get that more often. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, my honor. This is, I mean, to me, this is the best part.
Yeah.
Woohoo! So
amazing.
We got another guy healed, so it's the idea is that if the house isn't triggering you, your body should heal itself. Like you got to get surgery on, or a car wreck, or, whatever, or old injuries that you have to maintain. The inflammation in so many cases comes from these triggers in the house.
Yeah.
And your body just either it's previous exposure, or your body just doesn't like something, or it's just that much, influence or exposure in the house that's available.
Right.
That your body is like, hey, well, I don't even know what that is. I don't like it. There's just so many different variables with this. And to your point, you were taught men most of the time, not to just be, going off of gender specifically, but I often get the guys saying, is this really a big deal?
Yeah.
How much is this going to cost? And I understand where that comes from, but when people are suffering, and until you experience it yourself, you don't really have the empathy for other people. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's within the household or people that they know, but it's often it's the men trying to justify that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that those aren't good questions. It just means we need to put it in perspective.
Absolutely valid questions.
Yeah.
Essential questions.
Yeah, because they got to be able to do it.
Right.
Something they got to do.
And I think the main thing I'm trying to point out, I think, is just not dismissing. Ask all the questions, but don't dismiss.
Yeah.
Let the answers be the answers. Take the holistic analysis, right?
Yeah.
You have to ask how much it costs, because you got to pay for insurance premiums. You got to pay for food. You got to pay for a home. Nothing's more costly than health.
That's exactly right. And then the quality of your life with your family.
Yes.
Especially when you had all these expectations.
Right.
And you get, kicked in the, Nancy Kerrigan on your,
Yeah.
hey, take out your leg. You're like, wait a minute. The older you get, this is going to be a blip.
Yes.
Yes. But you'll never forget it either.
No.
So, well, good for you, man. I'm really just happy for you and your family, and honored that we earned your trust so that we could help.
Thank you, Barry.
And hey, I'm honored. So to me, I get to do this.
Yeah.
This is fun because I know that people are gonna have testimonies.
Absolutely.
So,
and for us now, we, as this kind of story goes, we had a pretty bad experience buying our first home.
Yeah.
In this regard, but what I know now is that we won't on the second one. If we decide to sell, which we might, and move here in Tennessee, I know exactly who I'm calling. He's going to check that house out. It's going to be Barry Mankin, and we're going to move in with full confidence to a healthy home. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you being willing to share your story. You have a great family, and sky's the limit. Just be healthy and enjoy it.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching, everybody.